Welcome back to the Privated podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Our guest today is Jose Herrera. He's a creative force with deep roots in Guadalajara, Mexico, and a thriving career in San Jose, California. From producing for Telemundo, Univision, and CBS to founding MiO Productions, Jose has spent over 2 decades telling stories through video, events, and digital media. He's also the mind behind Corazón Musical, Escúchalo en tu corazón, a production that celebrated Latino music and culture, connecting audiences across borders. So in our conversation today, we're going to explore his journey from Guadalajara to California, the cultural bridges he's built, and the lessons he learned along the way. Welcome, Jose, to the show. How are you doing today?
Good, everything good. Thank you for having me, Federico. Like everything has to say that, right? Thank you for having me. So yes, do you notice that everybody says that? I was like, all right, so I have to say it too.
Yeah,
Thank
it's a
you for having
cliche.
us.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it works.
Yeah, it works. I know. I just got to say it. So that's out of the plate, one out of the line.
Great. So tell us about Corazón Musical. How did you decided to launch that production? How did it serve a bridge between Mexican roots, the Latino community in California?
So I'll tell you, and it's funny because before Corazón Musical, we used to do a lot of commercials, TV spots, 30 seconds, 3 seconds. Then Azteca came into the Bay Area and they didn't have production. So then we were doing all their productions. So we were making, I think there was like 34 commercials a week for
Wow.
2 guys. And this is after I left Telemundo. So then Azteca came in and, gave me all kinds of work. And then he said, well, we need you here in the base because we can't outsource this anymore. So I'm just like, I don't want to drive to San Francisco every day. And I have other clients. So I was like, well, I don't think it's good for me. So I was like, I'll pass. I don't want that job. And I don't want to be an employee because I left that corporate world because I know I can grow more faster. So then I said, you know what? I'm going to lose this great income that I had or a great opportunity with Azteca because they needed somebody there on their offices because they had a big office now and they had to do, production and they wanted to, put the finger like, no, I want this to be changed. I'm like, so it's 45 minutes from here to San Jose to San Francisco and get the time and then 45 minutes back. It's like, going back and I was like, no, I already had an office. I had everything ready. So it's just like, no. It went down to 2 months and he comes back to me. Roberto Pineda is a great guy. It's we just talked a couple days ago. And he's like, hey, I need a local TV show. You think you can handle it? I was like, yeah, because they didn't have local news. And everybody has Telemundo. Univision had a local news and local news brings income and tells you about, local and these, the community so they can, apply. But Azteca America didn't have, or Azteca didn't
US,
have,
right?
Yeah, US. They just came in and they had the biggest broadcaster, but then Azteca didn't have anything local. So they're looking for a local program. So Roberto Pineda comes in and he says, hey, I need a meeting with you. I'm like, all right. We go to San Francisco. We go to a restaurant and then we start talking like, hey, well, I need this to be produced. Can you handle it? I'm just like, I'm young. I'm like, I think I'm in my 30s. And I go, yeah, I can handle it. Like, all right, well, this is what I need. I need something local. I need something fun. I need something to have. No news. And I was just like, all right, well, yeah. And we tried and we talked to the waitress, like, can we get a napkin? And I still have the napkin somewhere around here. And it was a fabric napkin. And we took out a pen and we start drawing on the napkin, not the paper one. And we go in and we just like, all right, so like, hey, listen, we have to make it Latino. It's like, all right, well, corazón, that emblem that has the corazón all the time. It's like, all right, let's make it corazón. And then it's like, yeah, but I need banda. I need, something that is local. And then it's like, all right, well, Corazón Musical. And then there and then we made the presence. After that, then I just started to build my team. And we were competing with Telemundo newscasts that is corporate. I was right about here. And every time I got my friends that I was, working with before, it's like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. Like, why? Like on the ratings, you're beating us. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, yeah. So that's how we become to say Corazón Musical. But here's the point here, and this is going to be interesting. It came from Guadalajara, the concept that I brought to the United States. So I travel a lot to Guadalajara to visit my family. And one day we went to a bar and I see this beautiful girl making interviews in the bar. And this is on Lázaro Cárdenas. And she's like, Lázaro Cárdenas is the main avenue in
It's an
Guadalajara.
avenue, yes.
And there's a bar, and this beautiful girl is interviewing people with a big old camera guy and with the lights, and it's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And it was about fun, and they're trying to interview us, and we're just like, like always like, "No, we don't want to be on the camera because we're camera shy." But then I just said, "I'm gonna do it," and she interviews me. But instead of she interviewing me, I was like, "Wait a minute, what's your name?" And it's like, "Oh, my name is Tatiana, whatever." And it's like, how did you become a host? So I was interviewing her. She interviewed me. He's like, hey, how you doing today? It's like, are you having fun? I was like, no. So I stopped her, and I was more interested in her of how did she get the job and how did she, or what's the idea, right? It's like, and where are you going to put this on? I was just like curious because coming back from background from production from CBS, NBC, and I was more curious about what her emphasis was. So anyways, going back to Corazón Musical, I was like, and I remember her, and I was like, I'm going to do the same concept. I'm just going to bring everything that is fun and everything that is positive, everything that's going to be happening, which is no politics, no religion, and no sports. Everything else, come on in. So if there was a walk of cancer, if there was a museum, if there's an event, if there's anything that is just positive, and I think that's what made us happen. But my Corazón Musical was a 1 hour program. So there was a lot of content I had to cover. If it was a half an hour, maybe. So then we were just like, all right, let's put a music video in between. So make it like an MTV version / Guadalajara / our style of, Pasa or Mexican or Chicano, whatnot. So then we would combine my expertise of being in Guadalajara almost every time and knowing about United States, and then just kind of combine it and make it an original sound. So that's how Corazón Musical became.
Wow. Just for the audience to know, Corazón Musical translates to musical heart, right? That's the
and we had
translation.
the bump was like dun, dun. And we had a lot of crew and we had a van. It's a long story, but that would be another interview. But let's go to the next question.
Yeah, I saw a video summary that you had on your website. You have so many stars in it, right? And there's so much energy in it. It's like boom, 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 boom. One thing, another thing, right? Yeah. And I think that again for the audience is in Guadalajara the musical culture is very big. I think it's one of the biggest in Mexico, right? I don't know, but you have mariachis, so many mariachis. And
so
then
this
you have
is what Guadalajara has to give you. It's the tequila, it's maná, it's peso puma, tortas ahogadas, the Maria. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that becomes. And from what I heard is that the fashion comes out from Guadalajara. And anything that you want to prove to anything in the Republic of Mexico, anywhere you want to go, you start in Guadalajara. If it hits, then you can expand to the rest of the world.
Right.
Because they're really picky. That's from what I heard. I can't say that I'm the expert on that, but if you want to put an In-N-Out or whatever about Burger King or something, you start in Guadalajara, and if it works, then you can go to Monterrey, everybody else.
Yes, the audience in Guadalajara is very picky and very particular. Yeah. And yes. So for me, the torta ahogada are great. I love it. It's yeah. So I'm from Argentina, right? So I moved here like 17 years ago. And one of the things that I did is one time, and I did this, timing wise was the worst because I was getting a flight back to Buenos Aires, right? And I wanted to try a torta ahogada, but with 100% chile, right? So you have the
no.
So you should
did in the sun.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
So I said So I was with a taxi driver and I said, "Can you take me to the best tortogada in the city?" And he was like, "Are you sure?" "Yes, let's go." And we went there and I invited the taxi driver another tortogada, and then I asked mine and I ate it. It was excruciating. And then from there, that was on my drive to the airport. So then after eating the tortogada, with 100% chile, I took a 17-hour flight.
we don't want to get into details on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. Nothing happened after that, so it was good.
All right.
Yeah. If I can survive leche bronca, I can survive anything.
You know about the pajaretes, by the way?
Yeah, pajarete, that's what I'm talking about.
Pajaretes, it's really famous here in San Jose on Saturdays and Sundays.
Really? You can get it in San Jose?
But it's all underground. There's not you have to go to these ranches and there's big lines and oh yeah. So there's a lot of big cultures here in San Jose, San Francisco, Oakland. I mean, California dominates the populations of Mexico, and you have to think about everybody's coming from Michoacan, Oaxaca, Zacatecas, Jalisco. So there's all kinds of other states coming in. So they have to adapt to it, Not like Jalisco's Jalisco, and you're only going to meet Jaliscienses or Guadalajara, Tapatíos. But this is sometimes you have to go with the Michoacan or Oaxaquitas or whatever it is, but you have to they're Mexicans. So when they say pajaretes and you go to a place or you're like, oh yeah, let's go to a pajaretes. So you have to adapt that. I never had a pajarete, but I was just like, you have the cabra, they're doing the milk stuff, and then they put that, the alcohol, and in the morning you're like drinking it like nothing. And I was like, so there's a lot of things that the culture of Mexico is embedded here, but it's now different because it's all the states combined in one place.
Interesting. Yeah, because now it becomes a culture of its own, right?
Yeah.
Because all the merge of all the states, right?
Well, that's the United States. I mean, we got Irish, we got Germans, we got everything. Italians, we got everything. But the Mexicans are the only ones that they're individual. Everybody's like, I'm from Zacatecas. And they're like, well, I'm from Jalisco. It's like, you're Mexicans, man. It's like, just grab your Mexican, not from every state. So,
yes. So let me tell you a story about one time I almost burned a ranch.
Oh my God. What?
Well, we were doing pajaretes. So for the audience that doesn't know, pajarete means that you get a glass of, so you have a cup, you put alcohol in it, depending on which one you want. Some people put coffee, some people put sugar, you have multiple options there. And then you go to the cow or goat, and then, pour milk directly into the cups, right? And it mixes with the alcohol, and that's pajarete, right? So I was with a group of friends. He has the habit of turning on the alcohol, right?
Turning? What do you mean turning?
He burns the alcohol. He put fire on the alcohol before.
He blends it. Yeah, I've seen that one before. Yeah. So he makes it like more spectacular look, and that's it has like
and
smoke.
Then you turn it off with the milk, and it kind of gives this smoke thing, and it burns the sugar. So now it's caramel. I don't know. I mean, he has different theories of why. But anyway, so we went a few times. He did that a few times, and I wanted to help, right? So I put 4 or 5 glasses for the group, right? I think it was 5, 6 people. I don't remember the number, but put them on the table, put the alcohol on each of them, and then I turn it on, right? All of them, right? And he didn't see me doing it. I wasn't like hiding it, but so he grabbed the bottle. It was a 2 little bottle of alcohol, right? It's a Coke bottle with a hole on the cap to pour the alcohol. So then he grabs that, and then he puts he squeezes a sprint of alcohol in one of the cups. And the thing is, with alcohol and daylight, you cannot see the flame. It's very, very difficult to see.
Bluish.
Yeah, it's bluish. Yeah. So what happened is that the fire walked into the bottle, and by the time I wanted to tell him, he's like, it was an accident, but it happened so fast that and then we were like, what do we do? What do we do? And in the desperation, we tip one of the glasses onto the table. So now we have, in a matter of seconds, all the table flaming up, right? And the roof was paja, it was burnable, right? So then we don't know what to do. So we grab the bottle and then we shove it into a pile of sand. We're thinking, well, it's going to turn off, right? And then what happens is that it builds up pressure and then it's boom, it explodes, right? It goes.
Yeah, physics. Yeah. You don't think about physics when you're panicking. You're like, ah.
Yeah. So eventually we turned it off, right? But it took us a while to figure out how, because again, we didn't know what we're doing. We're kind of desperate, right?
It makes sense.
This happened many years ago. He still remembers it, and every time I see him, he remembers. Like, you almost burned the ranch, and the ranch was, the ranch of a relative of one of our friends. So the uncle. So he still remembers me, right?
Goes into a history book. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost got banned. Yeah, she replaced the roof with sheet of metal now. So and every time he sees me, it's like, "Don't burn my ranch."
Yeah, I bet that's the same thing.
Yeah. It's so the one of the things that I learned from the Mexican culture is the spices, the chiles. We have here there are so many variants of chiles, and they are spicy on different parts of the body. So that, and then the leche bronca or leche caliente or a pajarete. Yeah, I love that as well. That's something we don't do in Argentina. Yeah. And then the mariachis. I love the mariachis. Yeah. It's
a great culture. Guadalajara has so much great culture that it is president that it comes out with all kinds of, and it's a Spaniard, of course, but it's a lot of fun. It's just like party, and have a great time. So I brought that back to Corazón Musical, and that's
right.
how. But before Corazón Musical, we used to do a lot of production, and I was doing a lot of other stuff, right? But then Corazón Musical, it didn't end. Just YouTube came in. I don't think it's a mistake, but I was just not ready for it. And I was a broadcaster. I had my degree. I had everything. I was ready. And then YouTube comes in and says, a little kid with his little camera says, I can do a video. I was like, wait a minute. I'm a broadcaster. Broadcast is not going to end. Bringing from the culture of Canal 6 in Guadalajara, Channel 4, and all those stuff. Well, you think that just to get that opportunity, right? You're going to have, like, I'm from Guadalajara, it's the second biggest city in the world, and it has all kinds of culture. I know that. YouTube comes in, and we don't follow YouTube. We just like, no, we're broadcasters. And look at where YouTube is right now. So put that little sense into you, because if I would have followed YouTube back in the days when it came in, and we would put Corazón Musical in, it would have been a different story. And we would have a lot of culture, because we did a lot of, we did Año Nuevo in Guadalajara. We would travel to Cancún, and se llamaba Corazón Viajero. So right. Corazón Viajero was going to be the second part of it that was going to be on YouTube, which was, we went first to Cancún, Aguascalientes, and Aguascalientes, Feria San Marcos is like huge. And then we were going to go to Tijuana, and then we had everything lined up, and the local Department of Tourism was paying for everything. It was getting everything. We were having all access of everything back in the days before YouTube came in. So we were going in, and we just needed a sponsorship of airline, which is Volaris and Mexicana, and Aeromexico sponsored us because we went to Mexico también, Mexico City. So we were almost having Corazón Viajero almost up to, but it didn't work because there's a family issue. I mean, a family incident in my family. So I had to kind of like stop it, and then I let everybody go and said, like, just do whatever you need to do, but just get it on. But when the captain is not in the boat, what happens? It sinks.
Right.
We couldn't make it happen anymore. So when I came back, but Mexico has a lot of culture, and that's what I brought over here to California. And going back and forth, we needed that essential. There's a lot, and this is the word that I need to that everybody has, like los pajaretes that we're talking about, is nostalgia, nostalgic. That's what everybody wants to feel, because Every time I go to Mexico, there was like, "Esta era atole?" Meaning that can you bring me, I don't know what atole is, but this drink that is from a farm that is, I don't know, it's cured or whatnot, but it's something that you grew up with, something like, like for us, a Twinkie, for me, a Twinkie is like, wow, or Lucky Charms or anything like that, any brand of golden grounds, because I grew up in the United States, but I went back to Guadalajara and then I went in. So I'm going back and forth. So those are the nostalgic things that they miss. And if I brought it back to them, then, so if I'm meeting Telemundo newscast, that means I did something good. I have that pays out there. So Mexico has a lot of things.
The atole is like, I think it's like liquid tortilla, right?
I think so. I don't like it, but they ask for me, can you bring a queso? Can you bring this? And they just want them, that. And I remember my dad, from Zacatecas, the cheese. And every time we can try to get that cheese, in Guadalajara, they go, oh, the cheese from Tapechi. Oh, wow. And we eat it because we go from nostalgic, because my dad used to give that to us. It's concept. So when you're in the United States and that brings you the bread and butter and you understand that, then you can do commercials, and you're bilingual. You can bring that essence to the outdoor or the public, the customers and all that stuff. So you need to understand that it's like, if you hit that point, then you'll be good. So the first time I worked with Telemundo, I did a commercial, and it was one commercial that I did. I shot it with the camera of the client on the weekend because it was a ranch and it was, cows and going into horses and stuff. And then I would edit in Telemundo. And that commercial made me explode. As everybody's like, oh my God, that's the best commercial. And they just repeated and repeated. It lasted like 3 years on the air because it was the best one. And then we had to do another one, another one, another one. So those are little things that I brought in from Mexico to the United States from nostalgia, made things very precise of, I think, of what MiO is right now, because MiO Production just brought a bunch of stuff from, how about we do this? And it's all in knowing the two cultures and combining. Then if you understand and you're like, oh, yo nomás soy de Argentina, no, es un boludo or something like that, well, then you're missing all the culture of Mexico, right? And you're in Mexico, so you have to adapt, right? So I had to adapt, but I didn't like banda. I didn't like all kinds of other music that they play here. But then you have to adapt. That's it. You're in a different culture. You're like surrounded by 32 other states here that is not just Jalisco. If I was saying Jalisco, then mariachi, and rock en español, right? But then you come over here, and now it's peso pluma, it's banda, it's sinaloense, it's pasito duranguense, and all that stuff. So it's about adapting and knowing where is the nostalgia, so you can be successful with the clients that are coming in. And I think that's what the point that we got in Corazón Musical, because we were hitting every single piece of the puzzle, because we were just at the reports like, hi, we're here in Herrera and Vicente Fernandez right behind us and sold out. We would go in to the crowd and ask everybody, is like, hey, what is your best song of Vicente Fernandez, and how long have you been a fan for him? And we would go into a 3-map pit. There was just like rock and roll guys, and we would go into everywhere, but we would be the public, not the reporters. We would go in, and it was a lot of fun. It was a really lot of fun. So I think it's the part that we need to understand here is how did Corazón Musical brought in, and this is 2003 to 2005. And that's where we start growing, because that gave us another opportunity to land in another deal that we had for entertainment, and that we went on and on and on.
Right. Because, the way that I usually explain this to people, because people ask me, like, oh, the meat is better in Mexico or in Argentina, or things like that, right? Like who does better, whatever, right? And the way I explain it, in particular with the meat, right? And I think this applies for all the culture and the nostalgia, right? I can have dulce de leche from Argentina. That's my nostalgia, right? And I can try the dulce de cajeta, which is very common in Mexico, right? It's the same. No, it's not the same. It's almost the same. It's 90% the same. But the nostalgic flavor, I get it from the dulce de leche in Argentina, right? Because it's just different, right? Is one better than the other? No, it's just different, right? That one resonates more with me, right? The same with the meat, right? I can eat an Argentinian steak thick, but I will not put sauce in it. How dare you put sauce into it, right? But then when I eat tacos, I have to eat them with sauce because that's how you eat tacos, right? It doesn't make any logical sense. It is just, what it is, right? So I can understand
You
the
don't put
nostalgia.
chimichurri on your steak? I always put a little bit of chimichurri so it tastes a little bit different.
Yeah, we put chimichurris, yes. But chimichurri is a different sauce than the ones that they make in the Argentinian restaurants in Mexico. So I don't call that chimichurri, but yeah. With the meat, the same thing happens. It's like if I have Argentinian steak, no sauce. If I have Mexican tacos, I have to put them sauce, right? Because that's how it is, right? So anyway,
When you have a
that's
taco,
my
you have
take.
to have your finger up. Remember, you always have to have this finger up.
Yes. Otherwise, it fall apart. The taco falls apart.
Yeah, you have to just hold it. It's always this finger. Kind of like having a tea, like those British teas, like how you do it, and it's always just this fingers up. Same thing with the taco. We have to put this finger up and eat it like
Yes, and spread your legs because the sauce is going to follow.
There you go.
Yeah, and I can understand how you can leverage, your upbringing and your culture when you move to Mexico, because the nostalgia factor is very important, right? When you go to, Mi Ranchito in the Bay Area, right? It's a grocery store there. When you go there, I took a friend that he's from a small town in Michoacan, and then he went there. He was like, I'm in Mexico again. Everything looks exactly the same. The music, the people, the smells, everything was exactly like in Mexico, right? So he was fascinated by that.
There's many stores like that. One of our clients are the main chains that they have in California. And when you walk in, that's what you want. Is just, I know I can get, I don't know about tole. I mean, I can't get tejuino here. That's another thing that I can't get here. So when I go to Mexico, I always have my tejuino or pulque or whatever it is out there. I hear there's certain things that you can't find, like I opened up a restaurant for tortas ahogadas and it was fine, but you have to remember, it's just tortas ahogadas is just for tapatíos. The Michoacanos not going to eat them. The Zacatecanos is not going to eat them. Other states. So you're limiting yourself in just the one state. So it's very competitive and very hard to just open up una torta ahogadas. It was great because I had, I had booze, I had everything else there, but it was just not the right, it was just so limited to that. Then we had to, present tacos de canasta, tacos de all that stuff, So it was still going because it had the same flavor of Guadalajara, but we have to go back then. It was like the sourdough bread is not the same because it's only Guadalajara and San Francisco, and it has, I don't know, the latitude and the place and that, because it's just not there. That the bread is just like, it's just missing. And so we had to go all the way to San Francisco or bring it from Guadalajara in a plane. But then by the time it gets here, it's like, nah. So it was a lot of it was a 6 months good run, but I was just like, it's not making enough money, So you have to see all these little details. As like, you have to be like tacos al pastor are very generic, and you can say like, asada, lengua, sesos, tripas are always good here, and you see a lot of those on the cuisine part of it. And when you start seeing the people from India going to taquerias, it's because of the pastor. You know that, right? Because el pastor comes from India. The
Really?
sauce,
Yeah. Well, the
la
spoke.
piña.
Yeah.
All that stuff comes from. So when I saw a lot of people from India coming into tacos to eat just pastor, I was just like, "This is regular." It's just, and then the people were like, "Yeah, they love the pastor." I was like,
and their spices are different. So
no, because I made a commercial for a pizza, Indian pizza, and it was so good, and it was almost like having a pizza al pastor. It had cilantro,
wow,
chicken, and the salsa del pastor. And the guy, before I did the commercial, like, you gotta try it. And he was like, wait, the pot, try it. I was like, tasting it. I was like, this is a pastor with chicken. And I was just like, so it's something that is similarities. So you just have to adapt to what the United States has and Mexico.
Right. What was the biggest culture shock, when you moved to the US? Sorry? Discrimination.
I think it was because my name is, well, first of all, when we're up north, my name was Joe because when my dad worked here and all that stuff. So they didn't have to, but it was just, it was better to just leave me at Joe. And then I was Joe for a lot of time, but my birth certificate says Jose Bernardo. So then when I quit CBS and then I quit NBC and I said, I want my roots back, I went to Univision. And when I moved to work from Univision, I said, I'm going to put Jose back. I mean, Bernardo, because in Guadalajara, my name is Bernardo. But then over, over here in the United States, if you translate Bernardo, you're like, Bernardo. And it's like, Bernardo. And it's like, and it sounds very ugly. And he's like, your name is Bernardo? And I was like, no, just call me Jose. Call me Jose. So then I went back to Jose. I changed my ID and everything like that. So I was like, Jose. And then it was totally different because if you think about it, if you're with so many cultures here, people were calling me up and it's like, hey, you didn't do my lawn. You didn't do this. And I'm like, you got the wrong Jose. And that's why it was like a shocker that everybody thought that anybody that's called Jose is a constructor or anybody, from chef or anything like that. So that shock culture for me impacted me a lot. So then I had to go out, put up my picture, get, things ready. And it's like, no, I'm the professional Jose. And that's where it made me a little bit difficult because my name is Bernardo, but I didn't choose Jose, but nobody can call Bernardo. If I go to Guadalajara, it's Bernardo. So there's a lot of still, and I support every single way of, like, I'm very big supporter because I went through that. And I'm, it's not right, but it still exists. And I still get calls like, are you going to do my lawn today? Because you're late. And I was like, no, this is Jose. Oh, I'm sorry. And then boom, they hang out. So that's a big culture. I mean, a hit culture for me because when I'm in line in the taqueria, it's like, mira, este pinche gringo no sabe ni qué va a pedir porque está bien, they go out in Spanish. And I'm just like, hey. And I respond in Spanish. I was like, órale, where are you from? And it's like, from Mexico. I was like, but where? From Jalisco, Guadalajara, Tapatio. And they don't believe, so that's just because, that shock that's happening. They just don't believe that there's people like us, like Argentinians. There's a lot of white skin out there from your culture. So over here, that's for me the most impacting, and that drew me back a lot, because they thought that Jose is just a Mexican that doesn't have education, that doesn't have anything, that doesn't have blah, 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 which is fine, but there's some people here that they do have, there's teachers here, there's a lot of engineers, there's a lot of big, heavy guys out here, and they're not just the farm workers or the dishwashers or the constructors and all that stuff. We're even with, they just don't see the level of the ones that are educated and all that stuff. So they blend it in and they assume that everybody is the same. That is really, really what I had to fight for just to get to my position. And in February, I'm going to turn 25 years on my MiO Productions. That means something for 25 years.
Yes. That means that, you're being successful with your company, which is no small feat. It's actually a great achievement. Yeah. But I can see how people in the US would put you in that box of.
Yeah, as a bonus.
Jose the
So
Gardener.
that's a big. That was a big impact for me. That it was just. I said no, but you have to live with it.
Right. I mean, here in Mexico, I've seen a little bit of classism, right, but not racism. Yeah, I mean, but it's mostly the issue that because what I've seen in Argentina is that people from lower class to higher class, they are all culturally very well educated, right? They like theater, they like classical music. There's so many cultures, right? Because a lot of people were immigrants from Italy, some from Germany, so the culture is very diverse and rich. And what I've seen here in Mexico is that you have different cultures depending on which social strata you are, right? So middle and higher class, they have a culture than lower class don't. So most of the lower class will not go to theater, right? And there's exceptions, of course, right? But it's not something they're interested in, right? And they have different social dynamics, right? So but I haven't seen people being treated different by their color of the skin. Mostly they're treated different when they present themselves as being of a different social class, right? Because what happens is that people are lower social class, they are less studied, so maybe they're not engineers, right? And that creates this feeling of, then you're not educated enough to understand something, right? So that creates. I've seen that barrier here in Mexico, right? But not people being disrespectful to one another. It's just that they talk about different topics, right? So I have friends that run companies, and when they talk with their employees that are coming from a lower social class, I can see how they talk differently, right? They talk about different things, right? And when they talk with other people, they talk differently, right? Because it's they adapt to the different situations of these people, right? Yeah. But and there is a big differentiation on salaries as well. Anyway, sorry, I diverse a little bit on that, but yeah, but I haven't seen racism as I've seen in the US, right?
Yeah, this is but anyways, so let me tell you, after Corazón Musical, MiO Productions started and then went on just to finish I've been in magazines, I've been in newspapers, local newspapers as a company, all that stuff, right? But the I think one of the best and the shocker and the move, and this is my new adventure, is to go into billboards. So I met this guy that has billboards all over California, and he sees and he tells me, and he goes and it's like, I think you're the right fit because you know the industry, you know this, and that, and I need somebody that has young blood, but he gives me this job, and I was like, you want me to run for it? Like, yeah. So it takes me 3 to 4 months just to get it, and I had no idea. I went to a conference and there's not one Latino or Mexican or whatnot. There's only one Filipino, one African American, or I can't even say that. And then it was me, and everybody was white. So then I start talking and I'm moving, and nobody knows about this industry, and it starts to spread the word out. It's like, oh, Jose Bernardo is now working on the industry of this. And it's like, are you kidding me? How did he get that job? And it's like, well, you know how he does everything. So if we go back from MiO Productions, Corazón Musical, MiO Productions, doing entertainment, and now doing billboards, and in between 25 years I'm going to be, of business, it's just the thing that it's like you have to adapt to every single thing and just start learning. So right now, the industry of billboard is something that nobody knows in the Hispanic business. And even though, and you'll see it from here on when you go to Guadalajara, there's a lot of ones that says censurados, and there's a lot of ones that they don't have. Yeah. So it's a big industry that a lot of people don't get into. It's kind of like a secret, business that they have and nobody gets into it, but it's a lot of lucrative. So I'm at the point right now, I'm looking for people that want to invest in Mexico or somewhere else because they start selling me billboards that it's easy to sell because you have Bimbo, you have all kinds of other, people that they just want to put their name as this, but all about branding, Coca-Cola, all those big guys out there. So when I go down to Mexico this month, I'm gonna try knocking on doors to see if they are interested in selling me some billboards. And if you want some, you and I, Federico, can be partners if you want. So it's a really nice business to start with, and it's very, very interesting company. So
That's
then
very
that's where I'm
interesting.
at
Yeah.
right now on the whole thing. So we started, but Corazón Musical is, I think it was a sport that because MiO Productions started Corazón Musical. So if you want to think about MiO Production is the umbrella, and then I have several other things. I had a hosting, I had websites, I had all that stuff. But the end one, I think I left everything on the side, MiO Production, and then I dedicated myself an Adco billboards outdoors, which is right now it's amazing. It's been a shocker. It's like learning curve because I had tequilas, I had Mayacoba, I had all kinds of other stuff that trying to develop. And you're when I tell everybody, you start shooting things until it sees what happens and what hits, So the billboard business is really interesting. And maybe on the next podcast that we have, we'll go into more details about this.
Yes,
But
that will be interesting.
it'll be the tequila that we have is like we had 12 flavors. I was gonna import it. And it's not the tequila, but it was a infused tequila, 14% alcohol. That didn't work because Mexico wasn't ready. But you have to invest a lot of money. You have to change it. So there's a lot of interesting things, but it's just I think from my conclusion is just you have to adapt everywhere you go, but you can make things happen. It's just that you have to learn what's coming up. And it's gonna take you a little bit of time, but if the goal is over here and you know that you're gonna make it, like uh that you're interested, is like, oh, you want to make this happen. I think it's just you gotta learn because I had no idea about the billboards, and I learned. And I went to conferences, I went all this stuff, and at that point, I know everything about billboards now, and I can run any business that is the billboard business. I can take over. Yeah, no problem. I'll take care of this. So I think it's just being precise and just adapt to what you're adding into your life of business, the leadership about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard something related to this. People are talking about this. They call it boring business, but I don't think they're boring. But the idea of these businesses that has been run for people that are getting old now that they want to retire, and they need somebody fresh blood to pursue, continue the business, right?
Right.
I've seen that for laundromats, for some restaurant chains, things like that. That they are getting old and they are not finding suitable people that could take over the business, right? So I'm happy to hear that you're able to do that with
Yeah, well,
Adco.
I think in this case, and going back and I think I didn't mention that, but you got a good point. So Adco's been with on 60 years, right? They've been in business for 60 years, but it was all family operated, right? And then I think there's a word I don't remember right now, but you favor the cousin, the uncle to take the position instead of bringing somebody that's capable and more that can execute better the job, but they go by families or friends and stuff like that. And there's a word out there, but I not keep clicking it. So this is what's been happening for maybe 55 years. The sister took over, then the owner, and then the friend of the friend of the friend. But they had no idea about all this stuff. So when they got me in, I started doing all kinds of changes, and I started doing all this stuff, and it started working, and everybody started making more money, and we're just like everybody's like, "What the hell is this happening?" And this is Jose, like, yeah. And so it's bringing the young blood and somebody out of the circle of trust, if you want to call it, and just say, like, all right, you have a challenge. You got 6 months to 1 year to prove to us that this is gonna work out. And we're like, okay. So I think I'm on my 9th month or 10th is coming up.
Nice,
So
nice.
that's very important to the young blood that you're bringing in. It's like the owner wants to retire. He doesn't want to know about it, but he needs to know that if somebody's going to take over his little baby for 60 years, So
Yes, yes, and that's the thing. It becomes something so personal that it's hard to let go, right? Yeah. And
you got to build trust. You got to build numbers, sales,
right.
sales, and a lot of complications because there's a lot of of history in this company that you have to that's unraveling. So you have to take care of every single thing. So that's my biggest challenge for on this one.
Yeah, and the resistance for change because we've been doing
Yeah.
it this way. Oh no, but I wanted to do it this way, right? Or whatever change it is, right? No, but we've been doing it this way. Or the cousin is going to get angry. But what is the point of bringing a new CEO if they are not going to allow you to make changes, right?
That's a really, very hard decision. That's a good point we haven't talked about. But yeah, that's one of my biggest struggles right now.
Yes, and
It's having that my way or the highway. It's like, no, I just adapt to what they want, but I'm improving, I think it's a word, improving better strategies to make sure that everything runs smoothly because that guy and this guy needs to connect. So I don't have to micromanage both of them, so they can take care of it. So I get that way. Now I'm going to focus on more and more. So there's a couple of things that it hasn't been done in 15 years. I was like, why not? I was like, I don't know.
Right.
So
Right.
like,
Because it is
no,
this entanglement of egos, right? That
yeah,
then the structure gets solidified, and we're doing this way because whatever agreement these two guys got or whatever, right?
yeah,
I'm talking without knowing, so probably I'm wrong, but usually that's what happens, right? And then it's not about, again, it's not about your ego. It's about what is the best for the business, right?
right.
And that's hard, that is a hard pill to swallow for family that has been working in a company for so many years, right? And they were
Right.
able to get away with one particular way because their cousin or their whatever, right? And yes, I can see that fight is, yeah.
Well, and you know what's the most delicate part of any business is the finance.
Yes.
They don't want you to know the numbers. They don't want you to know how much they're receiving, how much collecting, how much involved, how much is going on, what's coming in, what's coming out. They just want you to run and to make more sales and to lower your budget. And they have all these. So the most delicate part of it is finance. And I'm good at finance too. So, but I don't want to get involved with it. I'm just like, that will be too much. But there's certain areas, project manager, operation manager, and all that other, little departments that you have to understand that you have to have somebody. And I told I was talking about the owner a couple of days. It's like you have to orchestrate all the pieces of the business, and if you don't have somebody to orchestrate all that, you won't have a music ballad because they don't know what to do because there's so many in the orchestra that you cannot put it precise like, all right, now I need the drum, now I need the flutes, now I need the violins and stuff like that. So it's very important to have the CEO in charge and have the mind of every single aspect, knowing that what's going on. That's
The
something
the way that I learn about that, because there's this book called The E-Myth, the entrepreneur myth, right? And why most startups fail, right? And, in summary, spoiler alert, but one of the things that they talk about is this idea of business process, right? So document the workflow and the process so you can delegate the task to the lowest employee possible, right? Or lowest, in hierarchy possible,
Mhm.
right? And in order to do that, you need to design the decisions in the process, right? So that way, the lowest skill employee can follow them, right? And you give them the criteria and they follow them. So you don't need the founder to be there for every single decision. So, but that takes time to develop those processes, right? And if you don't do that, what happens is that, you were talking about the restaurant. How far can a restaurant grow? The first limiting factor is going to be, demand, right? Which is, that's a reality. But if you have enough demand, then if you are a solo owner, is Jose's restaurant, how far can it grow? How much your hands can go, right? And if you're sick one day, the whole operation stops, right? So if everything depends on you as a founder, then you don't have a company, you have a job, right? So how can you make the company work without you being there, right? And that's what the business process come in.
It's funny because now that you mentioned that, was Corazón Musical. There was a couple. I had to hire somebody to check what was going on because we couldn't compile. We were growing so fast that we had no idea where was the mistake. So I hired somebody, Maria, and I was like, I want you to interview everybody, and I want to know what's the problem, and I want all the stuff. And I was like, I need to know why is it we're not, because we're sounding growing good, but all of a sudden it just went, you know. And when I say my special effects is because it just started to deteriorate because we're starting to have problems and they're not listening and they're confused. So then Maria comes back to me and it says like, well, I came back with the conclusion and the results, and this is what I gotta say. And I was like, why? And it was like, it's you and Nancy Rosales. And we're like, what? I was shocked. I was like, Nancy Rosales was my partner, producer. I was a director, a partner. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah. So they have two bosses and you guys are not making your own. Nancy's doing one thing and you're doing something. So they don't know who to follow. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, yeah, it's not the people below you, it's you two on top of everything. And that's when I got the shock. And I was just like, all right, I'm micromanaging. So it's like, all right, so what is your suggestion? What do you want me to do? You want me to like just leave everything to the producer? Or tell the producer that you're going to be in charge of every single detail. I'm like, no, I don't want that. I need to run the company here. I need to get, all these other stuff ready, sales, da, da, da. I was like, well, then just leave it to Nancy and she'll take care of the crew. I was like, because I would say something and then Nancy would say something and then, well, Jose told me this but Nancy was like, no, you do it this way. And it was just all, and that's why it kind of like combined together. So then we fixed it. So it was very, very, very uncomfortable knowing that you're the one that has the fault. Like, why? I'm paying you. You got to tell me I'm right. I'm like, no, not in this one. And it's like, okay. And like, no, you're like, well, yeah, you got a point. There's nothing that's like I can do to fix this except for just to let it go, So there's certain things.
It's hard to let go. Yes, I've been there. And the thing is, when you're running the company, you have to have this stubbornness of, we got to do this thing this way because I know that's going to work, but also the sensitivity to understand, like, what is going on, right? And it's hard. Yes.
Have everybody do their own department. And I learned that in 2003 or 2004. And since then, I'm like, that's why right now it's like, you talk to this guy, on this side, I don't have to worry about that. That's your job. Let me, work myself out.
And once you understand that, getting into another organization, then you can make the changes to create the similar processes, right?
Yes. Right.
I'm doing something similar. My wife is the co-founder of my company, and she's the CFO, and she takes care of all the budgets and finances and all that because,
And they're good. Women are good on the money side. Yes. They're good at spending. They're good to save too, but they make money. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, women are they're precise.
And she sets me the limits. This is your budget. This is what this is what you gotta do. This is what you have to report me. All that. And she's doing great on that. Yeah.
Women are great for that one. Yep. They're too expensive though, right? You have to buy jewelry. You have to give them another ring. At the end, you have to get something so they can start working more and more and more. They're really precise in saving money and knowing that you don't overspend. I think that's one of the key part of it. And when somebody owes me money, I send us, hey, can you help me on this one? It's like, hey, you owe us money. They pay us right away, because I don't have the heart for it. I'm like, you owe me money. I'll pay you tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes, and tomorrow comes, and tomorrow comes, and we don't get paid. And I send the favor, and they're like, hey, is it today or today? And we get paid today. So,
and at least in Mexico, this happened in Argentina too, but I've seen in Mexico is women can be a little bit more rude to men than men, right?
Yes.
So they can push them a little bit more and, be rude, say, hey, you owe me money, you have to pay now, right? But if and most of men are going to be okay with that because they see, they have a similar dynamic with their mothers, right? So, they get scolded by their mother, so they kind of accept that. But if another man says the same thing, it's going to be trouble, right? It's going to be a fight, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Our office is in Guadalajara. My cousin, does the operation. And Claudia, her wife, is the one that is in charge of finance and the CFO. Same thing like I think you are doing. And money's coming in and everything's good. So it's a perfect business model if you have a family operated company, because she's going to look over you no matter what. And if it's a different person, I don't think they're like, just pay. And whatever receive. But that is the most interesting part is it's her interest because of her sons and daughters and all that stuff. Having a wife as a CFO, you nailed it.
Yes. She's great. She's great. So we're running out of time. Do you have any last remarks before we wrap it up?
Well, I think this is a message to other people out there because I always help out. And I love to help out other, like all my employees that I had in the past. If I call them up right now, they'll come back and work for me. It's just the circumstances and everything like that. But, being a boss and being a leader is something different. And you just have to know about, connecting with people and saying like, hey, come on, guys. And so from what I learned from my being by myself or being my own without the corporate world, it's that I think your team is more important, like for you, your wife, and stuff like that. So you have to build a team and not hiring employees. That's one of my things that I think I've been successful with is that I know that my team will get my back and will do extra for me without even asking me. So as long as you have a team with you that it does all the finance, it does the production, does the graphics, does all that stuff, everything else is going to be, you're going to elevate like faster. So I think that's my one of my biggest accomplishments that I've done with Corazón Musical and with MiO Productions. We started with two guys, Fredo and me, and we were just trying it. And he's still with me, and we still talk. And then I hire, and we grew to 26, and then we went to MiO, and then Adco, and all that stuff. So it's always trying to build a team because Lionel Messi, he needs a team to make goals, right? So we need a team to make sure that if he doesn't make it, then we have somebody else who make the goals for it. It's just like a soccer team. And we need a coach, and for being a CEO, I guess I'm the coach, and I just need to have all my soccer players just making sure that they're happy so we can win not that game, but the World Cup, by the way, it's coming in. So
yes,
so,
and in Guadalajara.
Yeah, and here.
Yeah. And
We
here,
have
yeah.
So
Well,
I'm gonna
that's going to be fun.
go back and forth.
Yes. So
So that's my end of the part. So I think it's just you need to be not a boss, be a leader, and you have to build a team. That's my conclusion.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Jose, for joining us today.
Thank you, Federico. This is great. We get more, and I got more stories about every single details. And I got a lot of more people that they want to talk about the birria balls, and I got a bunch of all kinds of other stuff that it'll be interesting talking about because this is an infusion of business. And if we grow together, it's all about networking. Oh, you don't know about this? Like, no. And I'll tell you, and like, what's birria balls? Oh, you just put a birria ball, you sunk it in, you put meat, you put water, and you have birria. No, you have to cut it. No, not anymore. And it's good. So there's a lot of things out there that they want me to run that company, and they're giving me 20%. I was like, no, I don't have time for that right now into the food industry. But I'll consider it a little bit later.
Right.
A lot of things we have to talk about, Federico. Thank you very much for having me again. That I have to say that. And we'll see you soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Right on. All right.